determinedness and model.
No.
He's exactly the same guy as Harry Byrd was. He was the guy who used to be KKK.
No, he wasn't in the KKK. Robert Byrd. Okay. But see, this is your whole case. Your whole case rests on one guy. Can you name 5 people? Name 5 Dixiecrats who became Republicans. Name them.
They got voted out of office when they died.
Name 5 guys in the Democratic Party who became Republicans. Can you? Oh, sorry. Better now? Okay, sorry.
I submit to you that there's no way that you can compare the Dixiecrat Party of 50 or 60 years ago with the current Democratic Party. Just because it has the same label is meaningless. And it's absurd to make the comparison between the two.
Can you compare the America of today to the America of pre-slavery?
That isn't relevant to
it is. If according to you that the analogy breaks down over 30 or 40 years, then America today surely bears no responsibility for what happened before 1865.
Well, I would assume.
There's some brave people in this world, man. I swear to goodness. And if you're that brave, you just need to go ahead and sign up for the military, because if you're willing to stand in front of DSouza and debate this guy as if he don't have the knowledge in his back pocket, and he's going to challenge you right away. He asked you to name 5 people. You couldn't even name more than one person that you wanted to come in there with that argument. You got to have all of it. You got to be ready to go when you come in front of him. Guys, and also, I'm not wearing this blanket as a fashion statement or anything. It's cold in my basement.
I would submit that I am not guilty of slavery. My ancestors may have been, but that's not the point.
But the point would be, wouldn't it, that because your ancestors did it and you might be the present-day beneficiary of previous oppression, you would at least be the upholder of some elements of privilege inherited from the past, right? Wouldn't that be?
I agree with that, and that's why I support affirmative action.
And why doesn't that apply to the Democratic Party too? That they would be the...
Because that's merely a label. The people that represented that party are dead. Long gone. They have nothing to do with the current Democratic Party. It's merely rhetorical trickery.
I mean, you know that Harry Byrd died in 2010,
so
right?
Saying that 80% of African Americans who support the Democratic Party have no idea what they're thinking, and they're dupes by supporting the Democratic Party that used to be their enslavers. Of course they know that they were Democrats. Of course they know that. They support the Democrats now because they support their values. It's absurd to claim that the Democrats now have anything to do with the crimes that were committed many decades or centuries ago.
All right, I'll leave it at that, with only the proviso that it will take me too far afield to do full justice to what you just said. I think that, let me just tell you something that Charles Barkley, the basketball player, commented on. And he's talking about the present, not about the past.
He wants to run for governor in Alabama as a Republican, by the way.
Very interesting. Barkley goes, I've been noticing that poor people have been voting for the Democratic Party for 50 years, and they're still poor. Now, what's he getting at? I think what he's saying is that we have seen in Detroit, in St. Louis, in Baltimore, in the inner cities of this country, a kind of revival of the old, well, it's a new form of the old plantation. Wow. And what I mean by that is, if you think of the plantation as people living in complete dependency, they can't get off the plantation. Now, they get a basic provision on the plantation, but it's very meager. But nevertheless, it's enough to sustain you, and you're there and you're stuck. Now, I'm not saying that the inner city is the same. Obviously, it's not the same. People aren't being forced to work against their will, etc. In fact, a lot of them aren't working. But there is a certain kind of frozenness to the plantation. And what I notice is very bizarre. And
he is speaking some real stuff. I hope y'all are listening to this brother, man. I hope y'all are listening to this brother. He is speaking some real stuff, for real. Where is he from anyway? He's from like Indonesia, India. And if I'm way off, it's okay. we're all wrong sometimes. No one's right all the time. But if you know, could you please let me know in the comments? But he is speaking some stuff, man. It's a frozenness. It's a stuckness. It's like when they know that you're trying to move forward and not be there anymore, and you're trying to get away. Now you're the enemy. That's honestly, that's how it is. That's how it goes. It's crazy. And not all of the people in that, but it's that mentality is just ingrained. It's taught, it's beat into you like the struggle is a part of it. Like if you don't have the struggle, then you're not in it. That even comes with HBCUs, but I'll talk about that a little later, man. But he's on it. Listen to this brother.
Kind of frozenness to the plantation.
Yeah.
And what I notice is very bizarre and very telling is that when there are efforts to change the plantation, they are vigorously fought by progressives and Democrats. So for example, in a lot of inner cities now, there are these gentrification movements in which yuppies come in with technology companies and they say, all right, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put in all these new buildings, we're going to create all these new jobs, we're going to open Starbucks, we're going to create all this enterprise, and we're going to make this into a kind of enterprise zone of productivity and prosperity. And we're also going to pay money to the people who are in there now so they can move elsewhere or stay here. And if they stay here, there are going to be more jobs, and there's going to be better food, and we're going to clean up the place, and crime rates will go down. And progressive Democrats will inevitably mobilize and fight desperately to block these gentrification schemes. More jobs, more prosperity, less crime, safer neighborhoods. What's not to like? And if you don't, and if you have to move, your property values have gone up already enormously, and so you can sell and cash out and move where you want.
Now, I do want to speak on that real quick. He said, what's the harm in that? What's the bad part in that? Gentrification is something that a lot of, and I can only speak on African Americans in the inner city, do not like. Extremely upset with that. The community is fixed up. Certain buildings, certain rundown buildings are tore down, but that also includes apartment buildings, apartment dwellings where people actually live, been living for a long time, and they move them out of those buildings as well, and they try to place the tenants in different areas around the city. But here's the thing, a lot of those tenants don't have transportation. So what they've been used to in order to get their school-aged children to school was the public transportation. If not public transportation, then the school transportation. Now, if they're moved outside of that zone, they no longer have those privileges in order to get their children to school because a lot of them don't have cars. So it's a great deal of things that these people in these inner cities are going through when they're trying to live the same life that they've been living now. Is this a good thing for them that the community is being built up and being bigger, like they're bringing more jobs to the area, building stores or whatever type of situation where they can go and apply and become assistants, security guards, or managerial positions or whatever. But at the end of the day, this is something that they gripe about a lot in the inner city. And since I'm not there in the inner city, I'm still in the city, but not in the inner. I'm in the outer city, where the sellouts move. When they think they're too good for the inner city, they want to go and start checking out all the conservative stuff, and they think they better than us now. Nah, they're gentrified now. Nah, but I understand what Dinesh is talking about, but I just wanted to give y'all that side.
Your property values have gone up already enormously, and so you can sell and cash out and move where you want. But no, you have to fight these. Why? Because you can't disrupt the plantation.
Well, they can't sell because they don't own it. The people that are selling are the people who own the complexes that they are just renters in. So a lot of the people who are living in these areas, they don't own any property. They can't just sell. The property value goes up, and they now, since the property value goes up, they sell at top dollar, or they start taking applications at top dollar. And the people who can't afford it, if they're not being subsidized by the government in some type of way, then they get moved out. So it's not fair for some people. I think that is important that we do cover that part right there. If you're not in that world, then you won't completely understand that world. You will understand paperwork that come across your desk when you're doing research about these topics, these situations. But they do exist. Hopefully, y'all understand what I'm saying. If you don't, comment below, and I'll go more into detail.
But no, you have to fight these. Why? Because you can't disrupt the plantation. The plantation has its uses. So that's all I'm going to say about this now. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that there are different forms of exploitation. If you have figured out a way to create a political class that you depend on politically, that's delivering 90% of its votes to you, and if any of those guys got jobs and moved out, they would no longer be beholden to you. That's not a very good situation, and it bears an uncanny resemblance to the policies of the past.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. A lot of people are used to them checks. They're used to the low prices of their apartments. Like, I got a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm only paying $800 a month to stay here, and it has a laundry machine in the basement of the building. So yeah, I'm good. I don't have to go too far to wash my clothes. I got a wash and dryer in the basement. Is a clean area. Nobody's getting robbed in these apartment complexes. You can lock the door. It's awesome. But then when they start to, this is something that they budget for, they work for, and when the prices start to go up, that extra $200 a month hurts some people. The extra $300 a month hurts some people. But what happens is they're now forced to do something that they didn't believe that they was going to have to do at first. Now they have to find a new job. If they find a job that pays a certain amount of money, they no longer receive assistance from the federal government. So now there's a conundrum there. If they're in a relationship and their boyfriend or husband don't have a job, they can't get any help from the government either. So then they have to make certain decisions in order to stay in that little, okay, give me, okay, I'm not going anywhere. Could you just give me the money? Okay, thank you. I'm not going anywhere. Can you just give me the money? Okay, thank you. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. But there's so many different pieces to this. There's so many different parts to this. And I think at some point, I've said this in a couple of my other videos, as long as we lack understanding and we think we know it all, simply because we have all these people who are leading thought based off of their research and whatnot, we will never fully grasp what other people are going on the other side of the world. Same way that I'm sitting here trying to learn as much as possible with regard to this right, middle, and left-leaning politics and all these things. I'm trying to just get a better understanding of everything. This is me making myself uncomfortable so that I can be comfortable in the end, because I know that with more knowledge, I will be more comfortable. And so will the people who are connected to me, the people who listen or watch me on any of my platforms, or people who know me in real life. I can take this information back to them, and in a way where I don't sound like a robot, I don't sound like a paid hand or someone who's just trying to be converted and still filled with so much ignorance while doing so. I won't sound like that. I will really come off as a genuine human being who has a real understanding of how they think on the other side of the river, on the other side of the river, on the other side of the bridge, on the other side of politics. This is what they're saying, and this is the information that you have about them. While y'all are out there, protesting against them and ready to fight, and you're upset and you're fearful. Well, guess what? If you knew that when they said this, they really meant something for the good of everyone who pay taxes and are upstanding citizens, that means you as well. And this is how it could positively affect you and your family. As long as I can explain it to them in a manner that's respectable and non-threatening, we good. But as long as we're just constantly going back and forth and acting as if we understand it all, when we don't, then there's going to always be an issue. I think Dinesh D'Souza really did his thing in this talk right here with the gentleman who had an issue with what he was saying. But I do think that the gentleman still walked away believing that he was right and not Dinesh D'Souza. But I want to hear what y'all got to say about this in the comments below. And if you have yet to hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do so on your way out the door. Once again, guys, I'm Van, and now we are all the LFR family. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video, hopefully inside the Patreon as well. Y'all have been amazing, man, per usual. Love y'all.